From the Center for Distributed Learning at the University of Central Florida, I'm Tom Cavanagh.
And I'm Kelvin Thompson.
And you are listening to the Topcast, the Teaching Online podcast.
What?
Yes, you are.
Oh.
You're not only listening, but you are actually creting it.
Dang.
Yep.
That's amazing.
You're on both sides of that spectrum.
That's amazing.
So, how's it going, Kelvin?
It's going all right. How's it going with you?
Fine. Today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, which is free stuff.
Yeah, I like free stuff too.
Who doesn't like free stuff? So,
well, free, and you know what else I love?
What?
The internet.
The internet, because it's free?
Well, at the moment, yes. Yeah. And I guess that's true, but I was thinking about this. You know what's cool about the internet is it's like a superpower.
Okay.
That's a great facial expression.
I'll bite.
You wish that you could see Tom's facial expression. Yeah, no, seriously, it is. It's like, and especially like the early days, right? When the world was new, in the late 90s, the early 2000s.
The Earth's crust was cooling.
That's right. Yeah. And there was the internet, and it was good. No, it was like, all these developers, they come up with all this cool stuff that you can do, and it enables you to do things that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. Like, seriously, I remember this years and years ago. I was working late in the office one night, and I don't remember exactly the context, but I remember that I was supposed to have sent somebody a letter. I'm like, oh, gee whiz, and that's all high maintenance for me. I'm like, I didn't go get anything. I didn't go to the post office. And there was just a little light bulb. Ding! And I thought to myself, because I've been working in this internet space for a few years, I thought, I wonder, is there a way for me to right now, write a little letter, hit send, and it get mailed somewhere? Mm-hmm. And it turns out the United States Postal Service was doing a little experimental program at that time. No joke, within 5 minutes, I had a little thing written, and I forget, it was either free because it was experimental, or I was able to use a credit card and pay 25 cents or something. And they mailed a letter to whoever I wanted it to go to. And I thought, I love the internet.
So you hear that, folks? Kelvin is claiming he invented email.
Not email, no, paper mail like this.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like this. In my house, somebody clicks a button, and a short time later, a brown cardboard box with a smiley face shows up, and there's wonderful things inside.
As long as we're on a complete tangent.
We're not. This is relevant.
I remember early days of the internet. A superpower was, my wife and I bought an album. It was like a soundtrack of something.
And I thought it was pictures were inside.
No, like a musical album where they used to have those.
I think I saw that in a history book once.
Yeah, it was on a thing called a CD disc, and it was you put it in this machine to play it. It was really antiquated. Right?
Got it.
So anyway, we couldn't remember the name of something of a piece of music, or I forget the exact details, but we were able to actually send an email to the composer.
Wow.
And the guy responded. You could reach anybody.
It's one of those moments, right?
Yeah, it was really cool.
It crystallizes. Yeah, so...
The primary superpower, though, of the internet is to waste time.
No, that's not true.
It's a time machine. I lose hours.
You know what's cool, though? As long as we're talking about stuff, the Wayback Machine. I love the Wayback Machine. Not the one on Bullwinkle, although I like that one too. Yeah. But the the Internet Archive, that is cool. That has saved me so many times. I find stuff. Nothing ever disappears from the internet. It's all still there. But yes, love free stuff.
Oh, is that what we're talking about? Yeah.
Love the internet.
Yep.
And that's why, because you always end up asking me, so I'm going to beat you to the punch this time. So in today's thermos.
In the thermos.
I brought in some coffee today. Now this is a return appearance for this coffee. This is my go-to blend.
I thought it was
origin.
Cold and stale.
No. What's that stuff growing on the top of it? No. No, it's freshly roasted, freshly ground, and freshly brewed just for you, Tom. This is Storyville, my go-to blend. But the reason I brought this in today is because I have a positive association with this coffee in relation to the topics that we have today, online and free. So when I first heard about Storyville, at the time, they were selling just online. And this was kind of my user experience. So I'm like, I'll try some of that. So I did my little online purchase thing, right? A short time later, a nice little package shows up in my mailbox. And I open up, and everything is beautifully appointed, and is all lovely. You open it up and it's like gift wrapped, and there's a special little pouch of whole beans coffee, and it tells you exactly the day that it was roasted, and there's like a little instruction card. It's great, and I thought it came in, this online stuff came into the real world, and it was wonderful. And then I've been given this coffee twice for free. Our colleague David Wicks out at Seattle Pacific University brought me some freshly roasted Storyville to a conference once. God bless him. And
coffee is a religion in Seattle.
It is. Do you know the coffee prayer? It's an age-old. Thank you, God. That's the coffee prayer. It's also, as it turns out, very similar to the end-of-term prayer.
Yeah.
Thank you, God. So at any rate, very, very positive association. So free and online are good. How's the coffee?
Good.
Is it good?
It's good. So we are almost 6 minutes into our podcast. Would you like to actually talk about something, or shall we just keep going?
No, we're talking about stuff. Yeah, free and online. Those are very good things.
Yeah,
right?
Those are good. And
so what's that got to do with Topcast?
Well, it is a free podcast, right?
And it's online.
And it's online. So there, you can. Thanks for joining us for Topcast. I'm Tom.
All right, seriously, you want to focus in on something? Okay, here's the deal. So nobody has unlimited resources, right? So it is helpful as we are trying to advance in our online and teaching and learning practice. It's helpful if we can build upon the work of others. Now, I'm reminded of my K-12 background, where I knew plenty of K-12 classroom teachers and administrators who said, oh yes, the time-honored practice in education of stealing good ideas. I try to tell people, no, you don't steal.
No,
you don't steal.
It's an homage.
That's right. You share.
You share.
You share.
You stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yes.
You help to grow the profession. And all of those great euphemisms. But you're right. Nobody has unlimited resources, and nor is each one of us so great that we can't learn from somebody else or use somebody else's hard work that could meet our purposes. So we were going to talk a little bit today about some, it certainly will not be comprehensive, but some free resources that are available to online faculty and instructional designers and administrators, and some kind of general concepts around free and open. Because maybe we'll start there.
Yeah.
They're not the same thing.
What? Well, now let me see if I understand you. So I can search for something. Maybe I want to put an image in my PowerPoint or on my home page of my online course, and I have an idea. I want a kitten. Because I want to go with that.
I love kittens.
Yes, who doesn't, right? And I can search for it on Google. There it is. And I can take that picture right there.
I love the right click.
Yeah, it's
copy.
nice.
Yeah, it's amazingly easy to do.
So that's free.
Right.
It's open. What's wrong with that?
Well, as I'm sure we won't get into too much, because I imagine everybody listening to this probably has a pretty general sense of attribution and digital rights. But just because it's on the internet,
steal.
Yeah, just because it's on the internet doesn't mean you can use it.
What?
I have to tell my 14-year-old that. Yeah.
I have to tell my graduate students that. Are you kidding?
Yeah. So obviously you can't just take any old picture or piece of like a citation from a document or something without getting either permission or following proper scholarly protocols to use something.
You're right, though, right? I mean, we know that, and our listenership knows that. But you know what I find? Going much beyond that gets really gnarly, right? Because we have these concepts like open educational resources, OER, Creative Commons, Creative Commons licensing, which is all supposed to make all this easier for informed practitioners. But I find that right beneath the surface of that, as I have individual conversations with people, they're like, yeah, I'm not really sure how to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's part of our faculty development program. We talk about how to find open resources and how to put them in your course and how to determine if you are allowed to do that. And, we point them at things like, Flickr that has, an open kind of, an open way to use images or how do you link to the source so that you're not actually taking it and putting it in your course, illegally.
Right.
There are a lot of practices you can do to use things that don't violate the law. But but coming back to this idea of free versus open, something may be open but may not necessarily be free. And so maybe an example will help. I'll think of, let's just take a learning management system. So you can get a learning management system that is open, something like Moodle or Sakai, and there are others. And it doesn't cost you anything to license that. Basically, you just get the code base.
I can go download it.
You can go download it, yeah, and run it on your laptop or whatever.
Let's get rid of that whole distance learning department.
However, to run it effectively requires an investment of staff, resources, infrastructure that certainly is not free.
Let's expand the whole distance learning department.
Right. So you will either hire a vendor partner to help do that, or you will invest in yourself to stand up your own ability and capacity to do that thing. But the platform itself may be free. What you're paying for is all of the other stuff. So that is open versus free, and it's the idea of free beer versus free puppies.
I always love that.
Yeah, I know.
I know people would get really over it, but I like
know.
it.
I do too. I mean, certainly, neither one of us made that up. But or free pony, I've heard about. Everybody wants a pony, but then what do you do with the pony?
Care and feeding thereof,
it takes
right?
forever. So
scooping stuff out of the way.
Just because it's on the public web doesn't mean that you can use it without restriction. So one way of determining whether or not, or what the rules are surrounding the usage of something is through the use of a Creative Commons license. There are a lot of different permutations of the CC license, and I would encourage anybody listening to this who's interested in this to go to the website and look at it. We've tried to put a CC license on a lot of our materials that we're sharing, and so people understand that if you're going to use something that we're providing, I think everything that we've done has been a attribution, share-alike, non-commercial license. Right. And basically that means anybody can use it.
Yep.
As long as you share it with somebody else who wants to use it, and you can't commercialize it and make money off of it.
That's right.
And kind of profit from our from our effort.
I want you to benefit from our efforts, but not
profit.
That's right.
Financially.
That's right.
But there are various licenses that allow you to do pretty much any combination of those things where you can profit, or maybe certain people can under certain conditions.
That's right. They can be wide open. Basically, hey, do what you want to with it, and just
So if you're looking at OER, which is Open Educational Resources, if somebody sees that term, and it has a CC license on it, you can determine what the rules are surrounding the use and sharing of that piece of material.
Yeah, and I think that most folks probably in our listenership kind of get the basic idea of the reuse part of that. Ooh, I can use it because it's CC licensed. But two things. One, and I think professional courtesy may account for one of these. Like we have stuff on a website, and there's like survey protocols, and I don't know how many times we get, may I please use your survey?
Yeah.
It says right there. And so maybe that's just professional courtesy, because, it says right on there, take it and use it. But then the other is remixing, adapting, making a derivative work.
Mashup.
Mashup. Any of those terms, if you've licensed it accordingly, that's where I find a lot of people grind to the halt. And so there's new, and my
I don't think there's one answer to that.
There isn't one answer. And purposefully, there's not one answer. Just like there's no one magic way to attribute for CC licensed materials to be used. If you get you honor the spirit of these things. But I remember the first time I tried to, with the Blend-Kit course materials and all that, try to like remix stuff. That's where I learned so much about doing it, was just doing it and having to think through all the use case scenarios. So that'd be my advice for people who haven't done it: is make something and share it and put a CC license on it and think it through.
Yeah, and you mentioned Blend-Kit. So where I thought we might go next is maybe just talk about a couple of examples of different kinds of open resources.
Yeah.
We can start with Blend-Kit, or we can maybe we'll work up to the UCF ones.
Sure.
We'll start outside of UCF. So let's start with the biggest, most well-known open educational resource that most people are aware of.
What's that?
Merlot.
Oh yeah, the granddaddy of them all.
Yes.
Merlot sounds like a nice wine to go with our coffee. So here's something I should probably know. What does Merlot stand for, Tom?
Well, I should know it too, which is why I looked it up.
Oh, that's good.
And so
the power of the internet.
Merlot stands for Multimedia Educational Resource for Learning and Online Teaching.
Merlot.
And it's a repository of really interesting and often useful resources that you can put into your courses and inform your practice.
With kind of this whole eBay-like peer rating, star rating kind of thing, and then a formal peer review process as well. It's kind of cool, right? That the whole community comes around that and tries to identify and surface stuff that's particularly useful.
And that's kind of cool because how else do you determine whether or not something is good or quality? Well, your peers have rated it in a kind of low fidelity peer review process.
Mm-hmm. That's a great thing. Actual stuff that you can use in your teaching.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's wonderful. I think what's also a neat thing that we overlook a lot is we have a lot of really good professional associations in our field, right? All kinds of things, WCET, EDUCAUSE, Online Learning Consortium, all kinds of smaller organizations as well, local organizations. And while certainly a lot of the resources that those kinds of organizations put out have a fee involved,
mm-hmm.
sometimes there's a subset of stuff that they just put out there for the good of the community.
Sure.
And that's a great thing. Now, can you just maybe just go and participate? Maybe some of them there are the ability to build upon and make use of in some way. And so it's like Legos. Will they fit together? Can I build something with it?
Yeah. Although many of the resources available through these professional organizations are maybe more research-oriented or policy-based or something.
Yes.
But yeah, there might be things. There's certainly you can certainly learn a lot,
yes,
and often at little to no cost about
mm-hmm.
how to build and what best practices are. There are other tools that are evolving every day as we speak, and I'm thinking specifically about learning object repositories. Many of them are tied into a learning management system. Blackboard, I believe, has its Explorer. Canvas has Canvas Commons. There are, these things that will allow you to show, to share and use materials from your course into other courses.
Individual institutions, though, I think sometimes aren't willing to. They're a little hesitant, maybe, or individuals at institutions are hesitant to put their stuff out there for free. But I love when you see folks putting stuff out there that they want shared. And here's a shout out. As a system, the State University of New York, SUNY,
mm-hmm.
Our friend Alex Pickett, she's been doing these online learning summits for years. It was
right.
the SUNY Online Learning Network, and now recently they've rebranded that as COTE, COTE, which is another acronym that, here I'll sit and spin because, I don't remember what it stands for. I think the C is a community and O is online and T maybe is teaching and I don't know what the E is. But
sorry,
same
Alex.
kind of, that's right. But COTE, there's brand recognition, right? But, I give her props because for years she'll bring in like these great speakers and she's taking care of her instructional designers, faculty developers, and faculty. But then she opens it up to the world,
mm-hmm.
Like Media Site or something, and
mm-hmm.
and hey, come and log. And there's an active Twitter channel, and you can tune in, and then they archive it, and you can go back for years and see this stuff. Well, that's a great principle.
Yeah,
and we need to do more of that.
Well, it's the whole premise behind Unison.
Yeah, right.
So the idea, I'm certainly, I can't speak for Unison, but as I understand the concept, it's a group of institutions getting together so that they can share best practices and resources and not necessarily have to be dependent upon publishers. What they're trying to avoid is kind of a publisher model where faculty write journal articles for free for publications
mm-hmm.
that sell them back to the university.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and so they don't want that same thing to happen in the online learning multimedia asset space. So courses, elements of courses, pieces of media, if faculty and institutions create them, we ought to be able to share them directly with
mm-hmm.
each other as opposed to selling them to a publisher or some other kind of third-party provider to sell them back to us mm-hmm. at a profit. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that idea is powerful if we can operationalize it.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about some of the things that we've done here at UCF. In real briefly, hit some highlights. We've tried to do this, right? We've put some resources out there, put them online, made them easy to share and remix with, and we hope that will help people. So, what are some of those?
Well, I'll talk about I'll let you talk about the topper because you're one of the co-editors of that, because that's one that comes to mind. But one that I was a participant in is the Blended Learning Toolkit, which began as an NGLC grant from EDUCAUSE and then kind of grew into a persistent resource for anybody who's interested in developing a blended course or to learn more about blended learning. Included in the Blended Learning Toolkit, which is blendedlearningtoolkit.org, and that'll redirect to a UCF site, so don't freak out. You haven't been fished. On that site are OER courses, open courses in composition, in algebra that you could just take and use, or you can remix and modify at your discretion. There are other kinds of resources.
Survey protocols for seeing.
Survey protocols. There are also example templates on how to develop your course. I mean, it's very rich and deep, and those who have found it and given us feedback on it seem to find value.
One particular part of it's what we call the BlendKit course materials. So for self-study, small group discussion, or you can roll out your own little faculty development program for blended learning using these materials. You can shortcut right there by going to the URL shortening service bit.ly/blendkit, bit.ly/blendkit, lowercase, and a wealth of stuff under there, all Creative Commons licensed. I've heard from people who say, yeah, my provost said I need to have 200 faculty trained to teach blended learning next summer. And I said, okay. And then I went and I Googled and I found the BlendKit materials.
You could just, the BlendKit course is a whole separate topic. Even though it kind of lives within the Blended Learning Toolkit, the BlendKit course is something that you originally facilitated for us, and has grown into an annual MOOC that we do in partnership with EDUCAUSE that gives somebody the opportunity to either do it for free and learn something, or potentially to get a credential for a small fee from EDUCAUSE and UCF.
So two things, the cohort, yes, and then materials live there online in perpetuity, so you can go and use them whenever.
If you miss or don't want to sign up for the MOOC, you can just go find the materials.
Or you just like, we've got our friend Cub Khan at Oregon State University. He just liked one or two of the design documents that we use, and he pulled that into his own faculty development practice, which is great.
So why don't you tell us about the topper?
Okay, so the Teaching Online Pedagogical Repository. Sometimes people say, wow, how did you say that so fast? I have a lot of practice. Topper, T-O-P-R, Teaching Online Pedagogical Repository is an online compendium of online and blended learning teaching practices. So it's a codification of just good teaching practice. So getting the granularity right is kind of challenging. So what is a teaching practice? How do you articulate that briefly? What are artifacts that show that strategy in its natural habitat, in practice? What is maybe connections to professional practice or research literature? And then what are keyword terms that will cross-link between entries like that? So all that's browsable, open to the world. The individual entries are Creative Commons licensed. So as I've told plenty of people, you could take that entry and you could bring it into Word, and you could put your center's logo on the top and just have a Creative Commons attribution at the bottom, and you can hand those out as flyers if you want to.
And we have a periodic call for entries, and we encourage anybody who's got an interesting, effective practice to share, to contribute it. I've been describing it. A lot of people, I teach writing, and so the Purdue Online Writing Lab, the Purdue OWL, is a great resource that a lot of places use. It's become sort of the go-to online writing lab. And I've described this as trying to be the online learning Purdue online writing lab.
It's really gratifying to see people from around the world come together and share their ideas. And so sometimes it's just a good place to kind of stimulate your own thinking about teaching practice. It kind of came out of as our instructional design team got larger, it's hard to keep up with who's doing what, and it was a great place to put in one central location good teaching practices.
So let's talk about just one more. Why don't you say a word or two about the faculty seminars and online teaching that we do?
Yeah, so kind of influenced by Alex Pickett's work at SUNY, when we were trying to do some beyond our core faculty development topics, we wanted to continue to grow that. We were looking for a model that would work for us. So one, influenced by one of our faculty colleagues, Beth Young from here at UCF. She said, you need to have it brief, right? So we did that. But then, well, if we're going to do stuff, these little brief seminars, well, that just happens at a moment in time unless we take a page out of Alex's book and we open up to the world, not just for right now, but for ongoing time. So 30-minute focused topics. We situate a very detailed treatment within a broader context, and this give a whole lot of read more about it resources. You can, if you're at UCF, you can come face to face. Anybody in the world can join in as space allows in our online space. But then we archive all of that and just stick it out on the web for anybody to go and partake of.
It's available on demand.
Yeah, that's great.
So, well, there is a lot more we could say about open educational resources. There are a lot of people doing interesting work in this space. David Wiley has done some interesting things.
Yes.
And, Cable Green. And so all these people, I would encourage you to do some Googling.
It's a domain unto itself.
It really is. It really is. And we haven't done it justice, but
no.
But we probably
and we've slaughtered people's acronyms.
I know.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yes, we have.
We're sorry.
But that'll all be edited to sound good.
No, probably not.
It will not. No.
We don't have time. We don't have money for that in the budget.
So our bottom line, our takeaway for kind of positioning this is that
we have a point.
We have a point.
Oh.
And I'll repeat what you said at the top, which is
good.
that none of us has unlimited resources. But by leveraging free and open web resources, individual faculty developers, instructional designers, we can use all of these things to support the growth and development of online courses and online practice at our institutions. Sound good?
That sounds brilliant, Tom.
All right. I'll take that. And thank you again for the coffee.
Oh, you're welcome.
For me, it was free.
There it was.
Yeah.
And it originally came from online, maybe somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was free anyway. It was pretty good.
It was good.
Yeah.
So until next time, for Topcast, I'm Tom.
And I'm Kelvin.
See you online.